All right, welcome back. We got our Tesla Q2 earnings video. Now the numbers, not that great, but some of the progress that we have on some of their AI bets are starting to look promising, and we're starting to see them realize. They still have a long way to go, but when we look at the traditional automotive business, it does look like it is sputtering quite a bit. And we knew this with all of the Elon politics, brand damage, people lighting cars on fire. We knew this was going to be the case, and now we get to see it in the numbers. But there is a case to be optimistic with the robotaxi, Optimus, and the energy side of this business. So we're going to go over the numbers. We'll look at some graphics, and then we'll look at the chart here at the very end. So deliveries down 13% year over year. We knew that. Revenue at $22.5 billion. That is down 12% year over year. They did beat their earnings by $400 million. Free cash flow is down a lot, down 90% year over year, and their margin is down a little bit as well. The saving grace here is going to be the energy and services. That is up 4% year over year, and it's now 26% of revenue and 22% of their gross profit. Now, when we look at this income statement, this looks terrible compared to some of the other companies that we focus on. You don't see a lot of profit. You see a lot of revenue, and you see also cost of revenue, and you see a lot of negative year-over-year numbers. So auto sales down 50% year-over-year, regulatory credits down 51% year-over-year, leasing down 5%, energy down 7%, but their services is up 17%. So not a good-looking income statement here for Tesla. Deliveries, they did tick back up here in Q2 to 384 million. And the energy deployment looking good here as well. So holding steady from last quarter as well, keeping that deployments very high. So we've talked about the political fallout, and now we're seeing it in the numbers. Brand erosion, this graphic really kind of shows it. In US, Canada, Europe, and China, the Tesla market share is starting to slope down. So not exactly what we want to see here. Now let's take a look here. So the Cybertruck is struggling quite a bit. This is kind of being a big flop. I still see Cybertrucks floating around here and there, but they are heavily discounted, and the resale values are terrible, and the quality that I've seen on these vehicles is just not good. So we will see if they continue to make the Cybertruck. It wouldn't surprise me if they discontinue it, just because they're having so many problems with it. But that is not exactly what we wanted to see with the Cybertruck. So we'll see there. Now, when we talk about market share, the one company that is really looking good as a competitor is BYD. Now, I would say that if you were to map out all EVs market share, they all are starting to decline like this. We had a ramp up, and then we're starting to see everything start to slope down. But BYD is doing very well, and they are in China and I believe Europe. So their deliveries are killing it. Margins under pressure. Gross margin 15%. That is up from last quarter. Energy gross margin 30%. That's the highest that they have. So when we look here at this graphic, you've got the energy 30%, automotive 15%, which is down from 27% back in 2020. And then you have the services that is at 5%. So some of the moonshots, Robotaxi and Optimus, they did talk a lot about AI and the future because they didn't want to talk about the numbers. I don't blame them. But they did launch the Robotaxi in Austin, and it is progressing pretty well. They did a very small launch, but they're starting to scale it quickly, and they will look to launch in the Bay Area maybe by the end of this month in San Francisco. I think the big advantage that Tesla has is it's going to be easy for them to launch, other than getting the regulatory clarity, which all these companies are going to have that roadblock. But Tesla's ability to take a Model Y and just outfit it a little bit to be the Robotaxi, that'll be their big advantage to get a lot of cars out on the road. Versus a Waymo, they have to take a Jaguar, put $100,000 into it, add all the sensors, add all the computers, and that's going to take them a lot longer to get from 250,000 vehicles to 500,000. Versus Tesla, they can they can quickly ramp up the amount of vehicles that they have once they get the regulatory green light, and then also get all of their back end, the app, all of that figured out. So they'll be able to scale pretty quickly, and I think we will see them scale pretty quickly. The big roadblock will be regulation. The Cybercab is delayed until 2026, so they're going to keep working the Robotaxi with the modified Model Ys. And the Optimus, they are also going to start working on version 3. They're finding some issues. The one I keep hearing is the motor in the hands overheat when they're picking up heavy objects for longer periods of time. So if they're moving maybe a 10-pound object multiple times throughout a few hours, the motors in the hands will start to overheat. So they were originally supposed to scale up the 2.5 Optimus that they have right now, but it sounds like they're going to be releasing a version 3, and that will be the one that they try and scale up next year. So again, another delay, but there is still some promising insights that they did on the call when it came to Optimus. Now, full self-driving, cumulative miles driven, sky high, continues just to ramp very, very well. And they did mention with the Robotaxi launch, they are finding a lot of key ways that they can update their full self-driving as well. So the more that Robotaxi scales, the more data they're going to get to keep improving. So it's just this feedback loop where the more miles driven, the better the AI gets. So we see already in something like ChatGPT how fast it's improving. We're going to see that here as well with full self-driving and real-world AI. The hardware is getting there, but the software will continue to just exponentially improve, and this is no different. I've been using the full self-driving, and it's really blown away just in the last year or so how well the updates are. So it's just pretty phenomenal. It's a better driver than me, besides like stop signs. And I don't think I'm a bad driver, but it does just as well as I do merging through heavy freeways and just getting from A to B. And it just really takes a lot of pressure off the driver. The driving is a lot more relaxed if you're going an hour and a half. By the time you arrive to your destination, it's like, ooh, I actually feel pretty good, versus, man, my brain kind of hurts from just having to stare at the car in front of me for an hour and a half. So the autonomous vehicle war, you've got Waymo with 250,000 fully driverless rides per week across 4 cities. Again, it took Waymo a few years to get to this point. I think Tesla can get there a lot quicker. You've got Amazon with their project, I think it's pronounced Zoox. That's in final testing. Uber and Lucid have a partnership for 20,000 robo-taxis by 2026. And it's looking like you're going to have Uber versus Tesla when it comes to the platform layer of these autonomous vehicles. You're going to have Uber that's servicing all of these players. So you'll open the Uber app and say, hey, I want to get from A to B. I'm going to take a Waymo, or hey, I'm going to take a Lucid. And then the alternative is going to be using the Tesla app and taking a robo-taxi. So we'll see how that competition heats up. So it's going to be Tesla versus Uber and everybody else. And that'll be an interesting battle once that starts to take place. So some takeaways here. For the Tesla bulls, energy growth, AI data center advantage is still compelling. I still think Tesla is going to be the leader in real world AI. And I think Amazon will actually be number 2 in real world AI. We will see those 2 companies really start to continue to explore robotics and using that in the real world. The long-term optionality from autonomy, megapacks, and robotics, that is still very much intact, and those are continuing to look better and better each quarter. Now, the bear thesis here, the core business is cracking. Look at the numbers, look at the market share, look at the margins. It is showing signs of cracking. Brand perception, we've seen this. Although I will say the last few weeks, things are starting to normalize a little bit. But I'm not holding my breath on Elon coming out in the next month, or who knows when it'll be for his next polarizing episode. So we'll see. And Elon Musk, his focus is very stretched between Tesla, XAI, Twitter, Neuralink, politics. It goes on and on. I will say again, there's been a normalization. He seems to be much more focused on Tesla and mainly AI versus politics. I think he's realized he can make a bigger difference focusing on his businesses than trying to change the world of politics. So we'll see. So let's take a look at a couple of photos here. They did also launch the Tesla Diner in LA, and these photos that we're going to look at is again how Tesla is a car company, but they have these other pieces of their business that if you kind of see the glimpses of where these things can all come together, and that is the big future here. And yes, the cars are the tip of the iceberg, but something like this diner just kind of shows you how they're using. You have the cars, you've got the solar and these battery storage to power these charging stations, and then you have the other ancillary pieces of their business where they kind of just tie all into one here, and you get a pretty interesting product just like this Tesla Diner here. And this is the world's largest supercharging site in California. I don't know where Lost Hills is, but I kind of want to check this out. Again, you've got the energy production here, the energy storage over here. You've got the Tesla charging here. This looks like this will be for the semi trucks eventually. And then you've got all these stations here for the Tesla cars to go and charge. So again, tying all these pieces together, and you get pretty phenomenal looking products just like this. And here is the full ecosystem. You've got the Tesla factory, the AI data center, batteries, solar, home battery, home charging, electric vehicle, robotaxi, robots, charging network, trucking. All those are the suite of products there. So last but not least, let's take a look at the chart. The stock did drop 6% after earnings. It really dropped when they were talking on the call, and they delayed the robotaxi or the cyber taxi, and they didn't really give the market what it wanted to hear in the earnings call. But we are just really chopping along here in this 350 to 280 range. We will see which way we break here. If we get good news on robotaxi, I think we go up. If we get bad news on robotaxi, I think we go down. So if it scales a lot slower than people expected, I think that's where we drop below 300 and we find some price discovery down here. And if we get some good updates, I think we break out of this 340 range, and then we'll see where we go from there. But it does sound like the next couple of quarters, again, for the traditional business will be a little slow. But once we get through those quarters, maybe we get robotaxi to start to scale, and we start seeing some revenue from that. And we'll see how the credits that go away in September, that could pull forward some revenue here in the short term, but it could also really damage the earnings for next year. So we will have to wait and see how that works out, and we will wait to see some updates for the scale of robotaxi. But that is Tesla earnings. That's all I got for you guys for this quarter. I will talk to you all soon. Have a great rest of your weekend. Peace out.